Hey everyone, it's Caleb doing another video now. Today I want to go over resources. So one of the big things in Soccer Spirits is how you get better players, how you train for higher stats, how you build a better team, and you do that through getting resources. Four of them, or the main four, are GP, Gold, Crystals, and Dimension Stones. So if you're on the main menu, you can see it right here. Here's GP, I have 2,100. Gold, I have 11,200,000. Crystals, 733. And Dimension Stones, 232. So depending on what is important to you in Soccer Spirits, there's two main categories. There's PvE, story mode, space-time continuum, and Coliseum, and then there's PvP, which is going to be a whole Galaxy League. So if you have, thoughts of doing both, or you want to primarily focus on one of these two categories, it's going to affect what decisions you make for gathering resources and how to use them. So for PvP, you're mainly focusing on 11 players. If you're getting a lot better and you're able to climb higher, you're going to have more and more players that you're going to want to sub out depending on the opponents that you play against. But mainly you have 11 players that you're investing into. You're trying to get them up to 7 stars, plus 160 stats, and you want to get them max superbed up to 5. So that's kind of the goal for your 11 people. For PvE, in the different game modes of Coliseum, Coliseum of Despair, Coliseum of Trials, and then Space-Time Continuum and Story Mode, you're going to have different formations, mainly for Coliseum, of what you're going to build. So going over Dimension Stones. Dimension Stones, for my primary objective, I would use them for purchasing a legend. Way back when I purchased a Shaking Heart of Thunder for Hero when Dimension Stones just came out, and I was so excited about it, and I didn't have a unique yet. So I figured, I'm going to get Shaking Heart of Thunder for Hero, my striker. For 600 Dimension Stones, I would not recommend doing that unless you have already combined 30 different unique stones. You can't get the one that you're looking for the attribute that is, and you're sick and tired of doing it. You don't want to combine 5 unique stones into be that one. Okay, fine. Use 600 Dimension Stones and buy it. But pretty much I wouldn't do that unless I had every legend that I wanted. 5-star new players, classic players, 4-star rare stones, the All-Star box, lead trays, transfer tickets, gold. I really don't recommend using Dimension Stones for any of that. What I do recommend them for is this 900 Dimension Stone legend. Now, if you're a end game player and you've saved up and you're getting 900 Dimension Stones every 3 to 4 months, okay, great. You're going to be getting one of these newest legends. But primarily, especially with the new Dark and Light one coming out, that is going to change Vanchi and Celestia over to be in this 900 category. So saving up 900 Dimension Stones to buy one of these classic star legends, that's what I would recommend saving up your Dimension Stones for the shop. Now, the other way that I use Dimension Stones is for re-rolling stone slots for players. So once you get a player up to 7 stars, so I'll grab Narazel for instance, you can change one of these 2 Spirit Stone slots with a question mark. Now, you can only choose one of them, so as soon as you change one, you can't change the other. But I re-rolled on this one for Narazel to have an Ardor slot for Ignition Catalyst for Coliseum of Despair. And it took 1,050 Dimension Stones, and it was 11 tries. And looking back at it, you look at a legend that I could have purchased for it, but I pretty much already have all the legends that I want, so I was fine with re-rolling for Spirit Stone slots. So if you're going to do that, let me see if I have another legend that I haven't re-rolled. Okay, so Baltheon I haven't re-rolled a slot yet for. So once you get them up to 7 stars, you now have this option of changing a Spirit Stone slot. So you have to unequip the stone from it. So I'll do Silent Cold just so I remember which past stone that was. So once you unequip the Spirit Stone, you're going to see this little icon, and that means now you can change the Spirit Stone slot. So the first time you do it, it's 150 Dimension Stones. So as soon as you do that, it will be one of the 4 other attributes of what it is not currently. So because this is Thunder, if I were to re-roll the slot, it would never be Thunder again. So if I re-roll that, it's been 150 Dimension Stones, and it would either be Ardor, Whirlwind, Light, or Dark. So you have a 25% chance of getting the attribute that you want. Now, what I recommend is that I would always accept the first roll that you do, because so let's say it becomes Light on this one, and I was hoping for Ardor, so I could get another Ardor pass stone in there. If I accept it and spend the 150 Dimension Stones and it stays Light, then when I re-roll again, it will be one of 3 options. It would either be Ardor, Whirlwind, or Dark. So once you re-roll a stone slot and you choose the new slot, when you re-roll a second time, it cannot be the original slot, which was blue, and it's currently light, or whatever slot that would be. So now you have a 33% chance of getting the stone slot that you want. So from then on, I re-roll, and if it's not the stone slot that I want, then I will revert it or exchange it back and not choose it, get a 75 dimension stone refund, and go back to light. So I'll never revert the attribute all the way back to the original one, because that's just now a waste of dimension stones. So you got to be very careful with which ones you're re-rolling. But that's my method for spirit stone re-rolls. If you're going to do it, always accept the very first one and spend the 150, and now you have a 33% chance between the other 3 slots every time you re-roll from then on. And just keep re-rolling until you get that slot, and just decline it and get your 75 dimension stone refund. Go back to the one that it's at, and then keep going again. So if you don't do that and you spend the 150 on the one of 4 options, you don't accept it, then you still have one of 4 options, and it's going to be that 25% chance each time. So that's my method on it. So once again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you're going to do Spirit Stone rerolls and you want the highest odds, always accept the first one for 150, and then every subsequent one you do after that will be one of 3, because the original one, which was Thunder in this case, and whatever one it lands on, it cannot be one of those 2. So that's another way to spend Spirit Stones, is on Spirit Stone rerolls. Another thing you can do is, after a Spirit Stone is already up to plus 15, you can reapply the properties of the passive substats. So all of these ones down here, not the 2 main ones for a rare, or there's 1 main one for a common. So I don't think I have any. I don't want to re-roll any, but once you do it, it's 50 dimension stones to re-roll. And once you do that, then it's going to give you 2 options for the current one that was at, and then the new one. And whichever one you like more, then you can accept that and go from there. So once again, I would not be doing Spirit Stone slot re-rolls or reapplying properties on Spirit Stones until you have purchased all the legends that you want and saved up for that for whatever game mode you're looking for. So if it's PvP, then depending on what attribute and color and team you want to build, look for legends that will support that. If it's PvE, then that's going to be something separate, and we can go over that more. But that's kind of Dimension Stones in a brief overview. Is my thoughts are save up for the classic legends for 900. Then after that, you can spend them on skins. Obviously, that's awesome. And then Spirit Stone rerolls and Spirit Stone reapplying properties. All right, next thing is gold. So I have 11 million gold right now. One of the main resources of gold is in Coliseum of Trials. And with the reset, I used to get up to 48, but now I'm only at around 44. So I get the 2 million gold every 2 weeks. And I got to finish up this week, and I still got to work on these other ones. But that's a great way to get gold. The main way that I get gold is during the week. There are Guerilla gold matches, and they happen 4 times a day for 1-hour time periods. During the weekends, they don't have the Guerilla gold matches. They only have the Penguin matches that happen the hours after that. And these still aren't bad. The gold matches are the best way to get gold during the weekends when you're not doing the Spirit Stone matches. On that note, you have managers that affect how much gold you can get. So I'll show you my setup for what I do for these Guerilla gold matches. First thing that I do is I have Anastella and Hazel as ST consumption reducing managers. So Anastella was 10%, Hazel, when she's max superb, is 20%. I'll go ahead and use him. Then I'll get Ingram on here, and he's another one right now. I think he's at 3 of 5 superb. Yeah, or he's 2 of 5, so he's at 14% stamina reduction. So 14 plus 20 is 34, plus 10, I'm at 44% stamina reduction when I play a match. So I'll go ahead and do one for you. I also have Halloween Eve. So she gives me that 40% boost, and then I also have Charlotte Max Superb. So that's another 20% gold boost. The other thing is, you're going to want to be a part of a club who has a max level 6 shop. So if you can increase that gold by 30%, that is the max that you can do. So 30% plus 40% plus 20%, I have a 90% increase of gold from my level 6 shop Max Superb Halloween Eve, and Max Superb Charlotte. And then I decreased my ST consumption by 44% with Anastella, Hazel, and Ingram. So what that means is when I go over here and do a gold match, instead of being 10 stamina, it's down to 6 stamina for Hell mode, Hell difficulty. And then once I play it, I think it's 8,500 gold. So I'll do one of these real quick for you. And with the gold ones, you do have opportunities for swirly drops. So I set it up with my luck formation, which has really high clover, 99 clover teams. So that way I can increase my chances of getting those luck drops and getting additional swirlies and stuff that way. So pretty much with these gold ones, especially with the Guerilla gold matches, you want to clear them as fast as possible because it was only a 1 hour time window. Oh, let me turn down sound a little bit. Okay, so on the weekend, you're not limited. You can play all weekend to clear these matches, so there's no time difference. It's only during the weekdays when you have a 1 hour time limit, when you've got to clear those as fast as you can. Typically, within that 1 hour, I'll spend about 400 or so stamina, and I'll get about 500 to 600,000 gold in that 1 hour. So that is only because I've got 44% stamina reduction and 90% increase on that max gold. So let's get this done. Okay, so I even got a 4-star swirly on that drop. So that's this is the other way to get a lot of swirlies for stats, is to be playing these gold matches and getting these 3, 4-star swirly drops and, so on. So I spent 6 stamina and I got 8,550 gold. So if you're going to look at that as how much gold per stamina, you're looking at 1,425 gold that I just got for using 1 stamina. So that's that's what I start looking at, is that what is the least amount of effort that I have to put in for the greatest amount of gain back. So usually I'll get 9,500 during the weekday Guerilla Gold matches. So, 950 gold isn't that much of a difference. If you got a whole bunch of stamina, like I do, 859 right now for the weekend, I'll just grind through a whole bunch of weekend matches and get 8,500 gold, each match for that. So that is the best way of getting gold right now. And, if you're going to buy the Dimension Stone 2 times gold multiplier, I used to do that back when the Penguin matches were, 38,000 gold that you could get when doing that in a 24-hour period. But they nerfed it and changed it, and, they're down to like 3,800 now base, and then you can double it on top of that. But if you're really hurting for gold, this isn't bad to spend 50 Dimension Stones, get the 2 times gold buff, and then do it on the weekend, come over, do these Sunday gold matches, do it in Hell difficulty, and obviously the more stamina reducing managers you can use to do even more matches with your stamina is just going to get you even more gold for that 24-hour time period. So what I use gold for, mainly I'm a collector first and foremost. So I used to have, 133% book completion before they got rid of that. And that's always been my goal, is to get every card in the game. Obviously legends are a bit more difficult, but getting every card, getting them to their fully evolved stage, and then going from there. So mainly what I use gold for first is going to be in evolutions. So, you're talking 512,000 for special characters, 256 or 258,000 for other EEs. And then, obviously you have all your other characters that you can evolve and do stuff that way. So it takes a lot of gold to evolve players. The other thing is going to be spirit stones. You have to spend quite a bit of gold on getting a spirit stone up to plus 15. Typically for me, it's been about 1 million. If you're really unlucky, sometimes 1.5 million gold to get up to plus 15. Sometimes you can get really lucky and spend, 500,000 to 800,000 on getting those up to plus 15. But obviously it takes gold to get them up there. And then you're going to talk about grabbing 5 of those plus 15 spirit stones to evolve into a unique. And then after you've gotten several uniques and now you want to get a unique of your choice, you can combine 5 uniques into one of your choice, of whichever one you put in the middle. So if I chose Paradise of Light as the first one, then I'd be able to choose a light unique of my choice if I put in 4 other uniques. So spirit stones and powering them up. Obviously, it takes a whole bunch of gold to power up spirit stones. You're going to want to power up the ones that you're using on players first, and whatever that looks like. So here's kind of an overview of my Spirit Stones, obviously playing for a couple years and taking advantage of penguin matches way back when they were 38,000 gold and getting 26 million gold in a 24-hour time period. I was able to get a lot more Spirit Stones early on. I've also had like 19 or so that have evolved over time, and then they took out that function within the game to make it even harder to get them. So obviously now it's a little tougher to get Spirit Stones. You have to power up your 4 stars. They can either be rare or common, up to plus 15, and then you combine 5 of them. Depending on whichever one is in the middle, that will be the random chance of whatever attribute you're going to get for that. But they all have to be plus 15 and fulfill that 75, plus 15 times 5 power up. So sorry I'm going fast. Thanks you guys for hanging on and sticking around. We will speed through. Another thing with gold is going to be training. So obviously when you first draw a player, you may get them at level 30, but for the most part, they're going to be level 1. Especially when you get new players, special players, bosses, they're all going to be level 1. So it's going to take gold to level them up. Usually what I'll do is I'll try to save up for 6-star penguin matches, or I'll spend crystals on 6-star penguin matches to then train up these players up to their max level. So let's see, blue. Okay, so I think I've got a blue player like Edward or somebody that isn't. Where did he go? There he is. Okay, so here's level 1 Edward. If you're looking at a 6-star penguin of the same attribute, you're looking at 216,000 gold, and I guess they did change it. It used to be a 1.5 multiplier for the attribute of the choice, but I'll train 6-star penguins in. When they're at a low level, especially level 1, it's only 100 gold to train this penguin in there. So if I had 8 6-star penguins, you're talking about only using 800 gold to be able to train them up, 43 levels or whatever that is going to be. Now, and I'll go ahead and do this just for example, if I train this penguin in and it's going to go up to level 20, he's going to increase 19 levels. If I now grab, any other player, it's now 2,000 gold to do 1 material into a level 20 player. So now I just, 20 times the amount of 100 for now 2,000 for me to now train other penguins in. So if I were to do that and choose a whole bunch of ones that don't give much experience, then, great. I'm just going to now spend 6,000 gold to get this guy up to 26. Whereas if I would have just saved up, gotten more of the 6-star penguins, saved up to 8 and trained all 8 of those in, I would have only spent 800 gold training him up to level 43 or 44, whatever it is, rather than spending 1 penguin to train him. Now he's level 20, and now I just made everything more expensive the more that I train him. The same thing is going to work with stats. If you're looking at a player who is level 1, which I don't know, I think I may have just trained. Okay, so like Aslan, I just special trained, so she's only level 3. If I was going to train swirlies into her, then you're looking at, 5,000 gold right now for, this level 3 player. So let me train. I'll spend 300 gold, just boost her up a few levels. So 5,300 gold for that one when she was at level 3. Now it's 6,900 gold if I were to train a swirly into her to increase the stat. So if you know that you have a, Beelzebubs, 6 stars, black hole swirlies, any swirlies that you're going to train in for stats, if you can wait on leveling up the player before getting them up to plus 160, that's going to save you a whole bunch of gold in the long run. Because you're looking at, once I train Aslan up to 60, it is 11,000 gold to train a swirly into them. So I think I've got Lin Mei. So Lin Mei, I've been plugging away at her. She's at 151 right now for her stats. So if I'm going to dump a swirly into her, it's now 11,000 gold because she's level 60 for me to train this in. That is going to be insane amounts of gold if you get your players up to max level first and then you start training swirlies into them. So now obviously if you're going to use the player, you've got to get them at the max level for all of their skill points and obviously for them to be, strong with being able to survive in matches. But if you can wait and you can keep them at a really low level, special train them up to 6 stars, leave them at level 1, and then train a whole bunch of swirlies and stuff into them early on so that way you can save even more gold, that'll help you in the long run for getting players up. So gold you can use to evolve players, you can use to power up spirit stones, you can use for training, and then now the last thing that I would use gold for that I recommend is for scouting. Now, I would not do this early on. Obviously, for my priorities, I would be evolving players. I'd be making sure I can get them up to max level. I'd be training swirlies into them to get their stats up. But once you get to a point where you're pretty end game, you have all the players that you want. The majority of players are all, plus 160 that you use for PvP and PvE, and maybe some of them you don't really care that they're not plus 160, but they're still getting the job done. Okay, great. You're going to look through and say, okay, I've got everything that I want. Now I want to search for duplicates because I need superbs into players so that way I can make them more powerful. Pretty much that's what you're going to use gold for, is for scouting. So 15,000 is going to be per click if you don't have any globes. So I have one. I've got Janice here. Pretty much what my goal too is for GP is that I will save up to 3,200 GP first. The goal of that is that you never know when you may get insanely lucky and scout one of the highlighted legend characters, and they're going to be 1,600 GP if you happen to scout them. So I would always rush to at least 1,600 GP first in case you happen to scout a legend. After that, it's more of the nice to haves versus the need to haves for what I call it. So if you need a certain player in your formation, you need a inline passer, you're looking for a better striker, you're looking for a better goalkeeper, those are the very key positions that you need. As you start getting those, then you're going to be looking for support players and totems and stuff. So once one of those players comes into scout and you can scout them, you definitely want to pick them up. Well, if you deplete your GP, so I have 2,100 right now. If I were to buy Janice and now I'm down to 500, and let's say I happen to scout a Metatron or Askeladd. Now I've got to figure out how to get up to 1,600 GP really fast before the reset, because it's only for a week and there's only 21 hours left if Metatron or Askeladd were to come up on Scout. So my goal is I like to have a safety net, and I try to get up to 3,200 GP before I start scouting anybody that's I don't really need but is sort of nice to have. Managers are another big thing that I'll get into in a second, but so 3,200. So scouting for 5-star players for dupes, and also scouting for gatekeepers. So on the manager note, I kind of talked about the managers I use for when I do Guerilla Gold matches or weekend gold matches. Whenever I scout, there's two things that I do. One is if I'm looking for gatekeepers, I have Swimsuit Eve and Marineko. Both of them have passives for increasing the chance of scouting gatekeepers. So I will equip that, and in 4 minutes, I'll grab Vanilla's active, and then I'll use Marineko, and then I'll scout on that. But I always want to scout for gatekeepers. In my opinion right now, they're the most valuable thing in Scout that I can get. I pretty much already have every other 5-star in the game except for several of the new ones that just came out. So scouting for duplicates to get the superbs are big too. So if I'm not scouting for gatekeepers, I'll switch over and I'll use Swimsuit Selena. She increases the chance of a 4-star or higher player to appear. And that's what I'll use then for trying to scout 5-stars that I'm looking for. So once again, both of those are purchase managers. So now you will have to spend, $50 when they come around to try to get those. But in the long run, they're definitely worth it. So that is scouting. Okay, next thing, crystals. Crystals, the biggest thing that everybody loves to do is draw, obviously. It's fun doing draws, trying to get a 5-star player. It's just, there's nothing more frustrating than doing a draw and getting a whole bunch of 3-stars and you're 1 or 2 4-stars. This weekend, I went ahead and bought the 5 million download pack. I spent my 1,800 crystals and I got 2 5-stars from it. So stuff like that just makes me, never want to do draws again and spend crystals on skins and, buying 6-star penguin matches and, and doing that stuff. So you can draw. Obviously, you have to draw to get the majority of your new players. I would recommend holding out until the weekend to do draws, because that's when your highlighted players are going to have an increased chance of drawing. I also will recommend drawing in your 300 increments. I know it's not much, but to get that 1 extra draw, that's 12 extra GP that you can sell that 3-star for, or who knows, that may be 1 extra 5-star that you end up getting that you wouldn't have got if you did 10, 30 crystal draws. So if you're doing crystal draws, wait for the weekend. save up for the 300, and then I usually like to save up around 12 to 1500. If you're going to do draws, you want to save up for the highlighted player that you're looking for, and then do 5, 6, 7 of them to try and get that. Yeah, that's pretty much. So those are all, there's one of each attribute, and then there's 2 legends that get highlighted each week that have boosted, quote unquote, draw rates. So that's what I would use crystals for. The other thing you can do is you can buy them in the shop, or buy 6-star penguin matches, and that is the best way of getting that player up in their stats. So I try to save up. I already have bought 99 of each of these. I was training some dark ones, so I'm replenishing my dark 6-star penguins, but I like having 99 of each of these in there, so that way when I get a brand new player, I already have 6-star penguin matches that I can do to get those penguins and get that player up to their max level as quick as possible. And then last resource is GP. So we talked a little bit about it in terms of scouting. This is what you use GP for, is purchasing players, spirit stones, special cards like swirlies and rainbow elementals and blacklist swirlies and stuff like that in Scout.